𝗂𝗂𝗀𝗃
Cool!
Hey everyone, it's Nux, and today I'm back with another K-Free Rants video. And this video is kind of one that I wasn't really expecting to do at first because obviously I'm getting the ball rolling with my Sonic the Hedgehog content again. And originally my plan was to get back on the Nintendo content and make a quick Mario video talking about what's going on with the current state of Mario, because Mario is on a pretty good track record right now. I'm happy with what's going on in that camp, but some news recently came out that just baffles me so much that I have to once again step into this camp, and that is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And man, oh man, it's been a while since I've talked about Marvel on this channel because I'm mostly a Mario and Sonic focused channel, but I did talk about Marvel that one time with No Way Home because that's just a movie that I was just so excited for, and a movie that just like made me so happy and nostalgic for old Marvel stuff that I just couldn't help but talk about it on this channel. But today is gonna be the opposite, basically, where the news is something so baffling that I just have to vent about it. I need some sort of outlet to vent about this because it's driving me insane. So the MCU, what's going on with the MCU? The MCU, as many people know, has not been exactly in the best state, to put it lightly. Like, man, oh man, I don't even know where to begin in terms of talking about what's the current problem with the MCU. But basically, ever since Avengers Endgame, it's basically felt like the MCU has kind of fumbled in numerous different ways. And it's a whole can of worms breaking down the different issues and just problems with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and why it's kind of just fallen off, basically. And some of those problems just even go into like the greater film industry as a whole, which I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole, bro. Like, if I had to sit here and go over stuff like the freaking strikes, the AI debates, like, oh my god, the film industry as a whole, that is a whole can of worms I'm not even getting into right now. But focusing in on Marvel, what do I think has been the problem with Marvel? And basically, it just felt very directionless. Like, with the Marvel Cinematic Universe during its quote-unquote Infinity Saga, it wasn't exactly, consistent, I'd say, because there was definitely still some stinkers and not so great products during that saga. Like, for example, you have something like Thor: The Dark World, everyone's favorite Marvel movie, right? Like, it's funny because I don't think that movie is as terrible as people say looking back on it, because I did that whole Marvel Cinematic Universe marathon, and I was gonna do a tier list video ranking the movies, but I fell off of that for multiple reasons. But yeah, it's clear that the Marvel Cinematic Universe during the Infinity Saga, while it wasn't perfect, it undeniably had many different good movies, many different good plots that just felt like they were well connected and came together to make this satisfying storyline. But in the case of its follow-up saga, the Multiverse Saga, it never has truly felt focused. Like, with the Infinity Saga, it was very obvious what it was centered on. It was centered around the Infinity Stones and Thanos. The first phase was just setting up the general heroes of the universe, and then obviously it teased Thanos, and it builds more on the stones throughout phase 2, and then phase 3, Thanos pulls up, and basically everyone comes together to try and stop Thanos from, doing what he does. But with the Multiverse Saga, we've just never had a very clear direction to what's going on. Like, you had the movie Black Widow, which was this prequel movie, which, while interesting, and I think Black Widow definitely deserved a prequel movie, they decided to do it when, spoiler alert, Black Widow is already dead. Like, Black Widow died in Avengers Endgame, so it's kind of pointless to do a Black Widow movie now when she's not exactly the most relevant character anymore. Then you have stuff like Shang-Chi and the Eternals and all this other stuff with new heroes that just have not felt very well related to the overall universe. And don't even get me started with the Disney Plus shows, because that's like the Disney Plus shows, I feel like, have just been a big part in why the universe has just felt so oversaturated and just hard to follow, because there's so many different heroes introduced with like their own stories, and none of them do a good job with connecting into some greater storyline. But the big threshold that this universe was using to connect everything together was obviously the multiverse, because they wanted to tap into the multiverse partially because that's kind of what the comics do a lot. Like, a big thing with the comics is they dive in the multiverse stuff all the time, so it wasn't exactly a bad idea to move into a multiverse saga on paper, but in terms of how the MCU is using it, they're basically using it for nostalgia. Like, look at No Way Home. No Way Home is the poster child of a movie that's mostly using the multiverse as a concept for nostalgia purpose than because of the fact that they have any actual interesting stories to tell. Like Multiverse of Madness, the Doctor Strange movie, it tried to do some interesting things like making Wanda a villain and stuff like that, but the story still kind of fell apart because besides, like, you know, the references and a few multiversal counterparts, these stories still didn't feel very focused. Like, and on top of that, the individual stories are just not that great either because the stories just feel very basic and standard of what you would expect of a typical Marvel movie. It doesn't feel like they're doing any actual interesting new things with the characters and trying to make them feel interesting to watch. But with this recent news, what they've decided to do is they've decided to take this multiverse saga in a new direction. And part of the reason why they needed to do a direction shift is because the main villain of the multiverse saga, Kang, this villain that they've been building over the course of multiple movies, they've basically had to scratch him apparently because his actor Jonathan Majors went through a lot of controversies and court stuff, and it was basically a very bad look for Marvel, and they decided instead of like trying to recast him or trying to do something new with Kang to make him more interesting in order to like make him bring this multiverse saga together a bit better, they decided that they're going to completely shift directions and switch to bringing in Doctor Doom as the villain. Now on paper, I don't think this is the worst idea because Doctor Doom is a pretty big antagonist in Marvel Comics. Like, he's a very iconic villain, and if there's any villain that's gonna potentially rival Thanos as a threat, Doctor Doom would definitely be up there in terms of my picks. But then they announced who will be playing Doctor Doom, and the person that's gonna be playing Doctor Doom is Robert Downey Jr., the same person who played Iron Man. And I'm just sitting here baffled, like, why? Because, like, let's talk about this. So obviously, people playing multiple characters in the MCU is not entirely a new thing. Like, there have been actors that have played one character and not played another, but usually it's not very noticeable when an actor has played another character or has switched roles. It's like never really noticeable because it's either like minor characters that never really had too many big roles in movies, or it's just, you know, characters that no one cares about at all. But in this case, you're taking someone who was basically the face of the MCU at one point, someone who had a complete character arc as Iron Man and did so much for the universe. Instead of letting Iron Man rest and trying to shift this universe into a new direction and focusing on fixing up your stories as is, they're just saying, screw it, we'll bring Robert Downey Jr. because people apparently like him, right? Like, he was like very loved, so why don't we bring him back, you know? Except this time we're gonna do something different. We're gonna do something bold. We're gonna have him play the bad guy this time. And it's like, like, I just don't, I just can't see this as anything but a bad idea. And there's multiple reasons why I don't think this is gonna be that great idea. So where do I even start? So the first reason is that I don't think we're gonna be able to separate, you know, Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man from Doctor Doom. Like, the way he played Iron Man throughout the Infinity Saga, like, we basically at some point just saw him as Iron Man. Like, you see that man in public, you're like, oh yeah, that's Iron Man. Like, his identity is just so ingrained to the Iron Man character that I just think he's someone especially that you just don't casually recast as another character. Like, you just can't do that. It makes no sense, but it made sense to Marvel, I guess. The next reason is that Doctor Doom as an individual character had plenty to work with. Like, I don't think Doctor Doom is a character that you needed to bring Robert Downey Jr. in to play, because you could have given him a new actor, a new face, and given him a lot of his own identity. But some people say, well, oh, but Robert Downey Jr., he's just playing, you know, Victor Von Doom. They're not going to change too much about him. But here's the thing, because of the fact that they're bringing Robert Downey Jr. to play Doctor Doom, I have this feeling that it's possible they're doing something where maybe he's playing like a variant of Tony Stark that's going to become Doctor Doom. So what we're basically getting is an evil Tony Stark, an evil Iron Man, and that's who Doctor Doom is going to be. And again, I just don't like that because Doom as a character has plenty to work with. You don't need to basically make him like an evil Iron Man in order to make him an appealing character, but they just were not creative enough to use his actual unique elements and blend that into the MCU. Instead, they're going the easy route with attaching a very recognizable face to him. And I just think that's so lazy. It's so lazy as hell. It gets on my nerves. God, like, ugh. And it especially feels like a fumble because they were bringing in like the Fantastic Four, and apparently there's rumors that they're gonna bring in Galactus, or I think it's straight up confirmed. I have no idea, but yeah, they had, you know, everything they needed to potentially shift into a direction where they could have naturally brought in Doom as the villain and had him be his own character. But again, it feels like they don't have much faith in that they can adapt Doom properly, so they're going extra safe. And they're basically making him an Iron Man variant, attaching a very recognizable actor to him so that they feel like it's an undeniable slam dunk. But I can just see this going wrong in so many different ways story-wise. It's not even funny. Another reason why I just think that basically boiling Doom down to an Iron Man variant just feels annoying is, you know, like some people say, oh, well, they'll still keep a lot of the unique aspects of Doom intact. But like, will they though? Because think about like Iron Man's overall influence over the Infinity Saga. There were already a lot of people who said that sometimes it felt like Iron Man's influence was a little too great over the Marvel Cinematic Universe. A big example, obviously, is the Spider-Man movies, where a lot of people made a strong argument that the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, they basically feel like the Iron Boy Jr. movies. Like that's like a big meme and a big criticism against the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. And my thoughts on that are, in terms of like No Way Home and Homecoming specifically, I don't think those ones are too Iron Man reliant. Like I think those boil down the general concepts of Spider-Man well and are nicely Spider-Man focused movies. Like I know Homecoming is the movie obviously that has Tony Stark in that movie, and he's like a big part of the plot of that movie, and even like Vulture in terms of like his ambitions are like partially inspired by Tony Stark, but a lot of that still kind of focuses around Peter Parker as a character, so it's not that bad there. But in terms of Far From Home, that's where I definitely think you can make an argument that it was a little too Iron Man focused. Like the big MacGuffin of that movie are these glasses Tony invented, and Mysterio's whole backstory is because of him being salty at Tony. Like he feels more like he wants to be an Iron Man villain than a Spider-Man villain, basically. Like Far From Home as a movie is a mess. I do not like that movie, but that's only part of why I don't like that movie. There's a lot of other reasons I'm not exactly the biggest fan of Far From Home. Like it's not the worst movie ever. It has a lot of great elements to it, but that focus of having Iron Man as a crutch definitely could be argued as like a major problem for that film. So going into this new direction with the MCU where they're having Robert Downey Jr. play Doctor Doom, I definitely could see a possibility that they basically make Doctor Doom just an evil Tony Stark. Like he doesn't keep any of the actual interesting elements about Doctor Doom that would make him a interesting character. But what's done is done, I guess, you know? Like I guess we're gonna have Robert Downey Jr. Doctor Doom, and he's gonna be like the big part of Doomsday, and then that's gonna lead into another Avengers movie called Secret Wars, which I think that one was always called Secret Wars, but obviously we know that the Kang Dynasty thing is over, so most likely they're gonna write out Kang from the Multiverse Saga, and I just think there's no way they're gonna do it without it being like the most contrived thing ever, because they've tried so hard to set up Kang. Like they've done so much build up for Kang, so what are they gonna do? Are they basically gonna be like, oh well, Kang, you know, he died on his way to his home planet, here's Doctor Doom now, evil Tony Stark, y'all, hey guys, I'm here, defeat me. And it's gonna be the stupidest thing ever. Like the lack of like synergy between these movies and like the writing is like a big part of why the MCU has fallen off, and I just think this decision is just like, it just represents that so much. But on top of, you know, the villain side of things being clunky and just weird, obviously another big problem is just like, who are even gonna be like the heroes a part of these movies? Because a big thing with like, you know, Avengers Secret Wars is people are speculating that they're gonna bring back everyone and we're gonna have another like Endgame like tier team up again. But like, are we though? Are we gonna actually be able to bring back a lot of the legacy characters? Because it feels like a lot of people have kind of moved on from the MCU, or there are people who can't come back And like the current lineup, like who do we have? I guess we have Shang-Chi. He's I kind of like him. He's not so bad. The Eternals, no one cares about them. Like if you can name a single name of one of those Eternals in the comment sections, man, oh man, you're a special kind of Marvel fan. But man, I don't know. Like who is there left to even care about? I guess we have Ant-Man. I guess we have Doctor Strange. I guess they're still okay. Maybe. I don't know. Falcon, he's now Captain America, and I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, but I wasn't the biggest fan of his series, and I don't know what the quality of his movie is going to be. I'm open-minded about his movie, especially with the whole Red Hulk thing. That maybe could be interesting, but I don't know. The current state of the MCU just feels very messy, very like not well balanced and like it's going to seem like it's going to be well connected, and because of that, I just think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is just not as well balanced of a cinematic universe as it once was. Like, obviously, there's a whole slew of reasons for this. So there's stuff I can go into for hours on end in terms of like story, in terms of characters and whatnot. But man, oh man, I'm not even in the mood to do it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I just wanted to sit here and vent about the current state of Marvel and this decision to bring back Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. Like, it just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I guess the Russo brothers are coming back to direct the film, so maybe they'll do a good job. I don't know, but they're gonna have to get through a lot of weird writing in order to make this work. So good luck to them on that. Good luck to Marvel and them on that. Man, oh man, this is gonna be something. I'm very interested to see if they're gonna be able to pull this off, because this is either gonna be like, I don't know. I want to say this could be either good or bad, but I don't know. This could be like some sort of weird mid thing. This could go any direction. Y'all let me know how you think this is gonna go, what your thoughts on the MCU nowadays are. Like, I really want to hear what y'all's thoughts on this. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of my thoughts on the MCU right now. So yeah, I still need to see Deadpool and Wolverine 2. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to give it a like. Be sure to follow my additional social media in the description, and that's pretty much it. This has been Nux, and I'm out. Peace.